Mr. Skamani. So the ranking member and I were talking about, and if we'll do a second round. Thank you also. We purposely have left it very open so that we could get these discussions going. But in the second round, what we're going to do is we're going to hold it to 4 minutes, and we're going to keep people to 4 minutes. So everybody is pre-warned, forewarned, and I'll try to do that myself. So we'll start the clock even with me if we may. Madam Minister, nobody truly believes that in the near future, the entire world will be predominantly using coal plants to generate most, if not all of its electricity. I think that's a given. That's not going to be the case. So I'm actually confused about USAID's using what is an outdated extreme emission scenario called this RCP 8.5 in the modeling. In your modeling that overstates the likelihood of extreme weather events in 100 years, including on relying on assumptions such as that the predominant use of coal for electricity is that the coal is going to be the predominant use for electricity generation globally. And again, so it really begs the question: how many other USAID programs are compromised by what are really discredited and outdated climate assumptions? You and I have had some conversations, and I'm greatly appreciative of, as I mentioned before, that you've always been very open. Look, for example, you know my deep concerns about the direction this administration has taken on the Power Africa program, seeking to meet the administration's climate change commitments at the expense of Africa's need for large-scale industrial power generation, which, by the way, then keeps poor Africans, literally in the dark, which is hard to understand. So is USAID using these outdated and, frankly, if it wasn't so sad, laughable climate models to justify a carbon-free shift in Power Africa?
Stipulate we are not using laughable models, but I think that the all-of-the-above approach that we take does emphasize, there's been a lot of stress today on value for money and cost effectiveness. We are very interested in helping communities and countries electrify with least cost energy sector planning. And that doesn't rule out, for example, something you and I have had an exchange on in the past, the use of natural gas, if that's needed to stabilize energy sources. But we are compliant with the Electrify Africa Act. We are taking our cues from the market and where we can get best buy. A lot of the communities in Africa, because you mentioned Power Africa, aren't soon going to be able to connect to national grids. And so if you want to do pop-up electricity at a rural health clinic, often solar is the best way, to put yourself in a position to do off-grid electrification. But please rest assured that energy poverty is something that is the driving imperative of ending energy poverty. And the fact that 200 million people, thanks to Power Africa, have either first-time access to electricity or improved access to electricity because of Power Africa, I think speaks to our ability to use quite modest resources if you think about the good that is done and the collateral benefits to development of having electricity. You can see that we are, in fact, again, pursuing all tools. But as the price of solar and wind have come way down, the demand signals that we get definitely take us in those directions in many communities.
And I will continue to work with you on that. We all know, as you know, that under any scenario, even outdated ones, Africa's emissions have no measurable impact at all on the climate. But
cost has cost is something that matters a great deal.
It does, absolutely, absolutely. So you saw that, Madam Ranking Member, 4 seconds under my time. You were reckoning.
I'll take those 4